So now I want to turn the platform over to Carsten Spencer for his wonderful message, The Cosmic Love Affair, which seems to go with our songs.
Hello everyone and welcome. It's a pleasure to be invited back and to feel that cosmic love affair here in the room with the music. I love the animals, pictures of the animals. It's just wonderful. And I'd like to start today with an experience of that cosmic love affair, that energy that flows through us. I call it the miracle in 3 breaths, and it's something that I've been giving to my clients and students over the years, and something I use myself. Just allows us to get grounded and present in the moment. So I want you to just notice where you're sitting, exhale all the breath, and the first breath we're going to take in is just drawing that Mother Earth energy right up into our body. And as you exhale, just notice how you feel. Next breath is going to be divine intelligence flowing in from the top of our head. And as you exhale, just let go of anything you don't need. Feel Mother Earth and gravity pulling it right out of your body. And the third breath grows from that kingdom of heaven within our heart center. So breathe that in. And then we're going to make a soft humming sound. Just notice what you notice. Allow yourselves to be here now. It was a little bit selfish of me to start with this because my intention was to get you all focused here and now with me because I want to share this message because to me it's an important message. I'm going to start with a very powerful poem by Hafiz, the famous Sufi poet. After all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love affair like that. It lights the whole sky. And so what I want to put out to you today is that we are a part of that love affair. We are a conscious part of that love affair, who has the gift and the miracle each day to wake up and participate in that love affair. Our sun and earth coming together. Number one, creating this amazing earth that we live on that just is bursting and teeming with life. And I want to invite you to open to the concept that we are the cutting edge of that love affair. We are the children of that love affair who have evolved to the point where we can actually conceive of the sun. And those of you who were here for the opening meditation, that experience we have of being able to conceive of the miracle of this universe. And of course, the truth is, we don't know much more than we know. But what we know is amazing. What we know is a miracle, and what we don't know is even more of a miracle, because that's the unknown. That's where we're moving towards, and that's what we are creating with this God force that moves through us. And that's what unity teachings are. And if you look at the spiritual teachings throughout history, that's what we've been moving towards, that coming together in that love affair, matter, our bodies, the physical, with that spirit, that energy, that breath, that life force that flows through us. Now I want to take a moment to look at the big picture, and we started that with the meditation we did earlier, to really look at this great, big, huge cosmic universe of which we are a part. And of course, we can't conceive this in our little human mind, and yet there is a part of us that is able to embrace it and hold it, or at least experience it. And that's in our heart. And part of that miracle in 3 breaths for me is connecting everything together and moving into that heart, because that's where we experience music there, that energy of music that gives us a feeling. It's not something we figure out in our brain. And it allows us to also embrace other people in our lives, that feeling of love. Scientists can't measure that feeling, and yet that feeling that Hafiz talks about in his poem, that feeling is the energy that created the universe. Now, I'm going to share some scientific stuff with you, some technical stuff, because I want to really start to look at who we are and where we are moving towards. We've heard an awful lot about 2012, what it means the world's coming to an end, or we're moving into a new age. A lot is supposed to be happening. And my background is yoga and meditation. And very early I discovered that my spiritual journey was very different than the spiritual journey that I was taught about when I went to Catholic school when I was younger, which was all about following certain rules and being good and trying to deny a lot of inner impulses so that I could go to some place out there in some future, some heaven out there. Then I began to study yoga and meditation, and I sensed that there was something inside me that rather than wanting to go out, I wanted to pull spirit in. I wanted to be present in the earth. My first spiritual experiences were through nature. I had a big canyon out in the back of my house, and I used to, when crazy stuff would be going on with the family and I just needed to get away, I would go out the back door, up through the pine trees in our backyard, down the horse trail, into the canyon, where I felt connected, I felt safe, I felt an energy of light and love. And so much of my journey has been about getting into the body, and that's what my yoga has been about as well. And so my yoga practice and my yoga study brought me into a lot of New Age thought, astrology. I studied Eastern philosophy. I learned about the chakras, the energy centers in the body. And a lot of my struggle as I move through life and working with clients and students as well is the idea of what we think life is about up in our head as opposed to the experience of life. Joseph Campbell gives us one of my favorite quotes, and he says in his one of his talks about finding or following our bliss, he says he believes that most people, what they long for is not the meaning of life, but the experience of being alive. And I think, truthfully, that's why we're here. We're here in these bodies so that that God force, that source that created this whole universe, can experience being alive in his own creation. So each of us are absolutely vital. Each of our experiences each day, even those ones that we think, oh my God, why is this happening? If we can let go of the judgment and just be in it, that's really all we need to do. So what I want to share is some information that has been coming to me. There's so much information out there with this New Age movement. We're just getting a lot of information, astrological, from the Mayan calendar, from the Native Americans. And something that came to me a couple of months ago was this very interesting astrologer who'd done a lot of studies. She also had a lot of learning in astronomy, which is the more scientific part of it. And she talked about 5,026 years ago, the sun went into what she called was a cosmic fog bank. There was some sort of astronomical event that caused a lot of dust to go into the atmosphere. And so the sun, which according to her version of astrology, and I've heard this from other places too, the sun is the physical aspect of our soul energy. That's the physical manifestation of that soul, that invisible energy that's inside of us. So when the sun went into this cosmic fog bank, we felt a separation. We felt a disconnect. Before that, and may connect in Christian religion and the Bible, what we call the Garden of Eden. When everything was perfect, we didn't feel any separation. Suddenly the sun is in a cosmic fog bank. We're not feeling that connection. And so what happened is the ego mind began to develop. The ego mind, which is based in separation, based in every man for himself, based in I've got to figure out all by myself. And that really made sense to me. I thought, wow, that makes sense to me. And what she also said is now that we're coming to the end of this new age, and astronomy confirms this, the sun is moving out of this fog bank. We're getting more energy coming from the sun. And I don't know about you, but certainly for myself, family, friends, clients, and students, last couple of years, especially really intensifying this year, people have been coming to me and saying, wow, these emotions are so strong. I'm getting, sometimes I'm feeling great. Other days I'm just feeling overwhelmed with a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. Old stuff that I thought I dealt with before is starting to come up. And to me that makes perfect sense. If suddenly we're getting a lot more energy from that sun energy, we develop this, what basically is a false identity through the ego mind, it's being burned up. And you think, oh, well that's good, I'm going to feel good. Truth is, my understanding of these chakras and energy centers, the only way we can release old held emotional patterns and old held mental patterns is by feeling them, allowing them to move through. Which brings me to another concept, which is one of my yoga concepts, and my feeling as we move into the new age, and that ego mind is burned up, we're going to fully move into the body. And I think it's part of God's divine plan. That we've been up in the head trying to figure it out. We've got a lot of intellectual understanding, but the next step is to really allow spirit to move into our body more fully and really feel it. And that brings me to the solar plexus, which is one of our main chakras. Notice the name of the solar plexus. Sun, solar. It's where we feel. So as that ego mind is burned up, all the blocks that are based on feelings we have not been willing to feel are going to begin to come out, and we're going to move into the body more fully. What I call a lot of the emotions we have, and this is another concept that came to me about a year ago, I call them demotions rather than emotions. One of the things that's interesting about the evolution of spirit and the soul and our physical bodies as well is that we are in a constant process of change. The ego mind doesn't want to see that. The ego mind focuses on what's the same every day and what's always there. And we think of ourselves as just having, whatever the, basic emotions are. Mad, glad, sad, lonely, or scared, as my therapist used to say all the time. Well, what are you feeling? Oh, I'm not sure. She would make me name those emotions. Well, what came up to me during a meditation at a spiritual seminar that I was at was that if we are evolving, moving more fully into the body, continuing to create this reality with spirit of which we are a part, then we are in the process of also creating new emotions. And that song from the Eurythmics popped into my mind. She says something about create a new emotion. And I think fear, anxiety, even anger, those emotions that feel stuck, that's really what it is. It's our desire to move to something that's more natural and real, but we're blocked by that ego mind because we've been through a 5,026-year period of kind of struggling forward on our own. Another thing that fits in with this piece that I'm talking about is a talk that I heard by Greg Braden a couple of months ago. And he was talking about we've kind of been told when you go to school that civilization started like 5,000 years ago. We have, the Mesopotamians, all the things that they found. Well, what's happened in the past few years is they've found some civilizations that are 9,000 years old, that are 12,000 years old. There's one in the area of Turkey that's 12,000 years old, and they've just gotten to the very top of it. They can see there's more ancient ones underneath. So it conflicts with what we've been told. And the interesting thing about the find there's some finds in Central America as well, is they have not as of yet found any indication of weapons, of walls to protect, of any need to, so much of what goes on with this civilization, need to protect ourselves or of any war or conflict. Which to me really keyed in with what I heard from the astrologer about the sun going into this place and us developing this ego mind of separation, of not enough, of every man for himself. So we're moving to a place that is more natural. The ego mind is melting away. So, this brings me back to the solar plexus and that idea of the emotional energy. A lot of the work that I do with clients is, it came out of my yoga work. I began working one-on-one with clients after teaching yoga for many years. And for me, what was so helpful for yoga was it got me into my body, and it really was able to turn off all that chatter up in my head. They call it monkey mind or the negative ego mind. And we all know what it's about. It's that idea that we've got to figure life out before we move forward. And I think if we were watching, all of us watched Yo-Yo Ma, of course he rehearsed, we were talking about needing to rehearse music and get it all set, but you have a sense when you watch someone who's really in their art that they're totally in the moment. It's not something they're thinking about, it's something that's moving through their body. And anyone who has a hobby or something that they love to do, you know that experience when you're doing something you love. It's not an intellectual experience. You're in the moment, time can seem to disappear, and you're just in that flow. So the work that I do with clients is really moving them into these chakras, into these energy centers, and allowing the energy centers to make a channel so you can release some of those old limiting beliefs. The beliefs are the ones that don't want to let us feel. So that miracle in 3 breaths that I gave you, it's an excellent way when you're feeling stressed out, you're up in your head. Generally for me, it always means that there's an emotion, there's something going on emotionally that I'm not allowing myself to feel. And if I can also remember that anxiety, fear, those negative emotions that make you feel heavy, and the word I made up is demotions, and I don't want to deny them, but what it is, it's an emotion, which to me, energy in motion, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. It's an energy that we don't want to give motion to, so we hold it down. Fear is usually, from my point of view, spirit or something telling me to move to something new, and there's a reason why I'm afraid to do it. So what we do, we pull away, we make up some story in our head that's going to try to make the fear go away, and we live up in our head trying to find some thought pattern that's going to give us a better feeling. And what I found that is very helpful with myself and clients is to give the feeling space without attaching a story to it. And when I do that, I find that the answer comes, usually as it floats up into my heart, and usually it's not an answer at all. It's a change of the feeling. Fear can very easily become excitement. Anger can very clearly be an ability for me to stand in my truth and see what really my truth is in any situation, and to feel my power. So sadness and grief, I think those are real emotions. I think we've also taught ourselves that we're not supposed to feel those things, and so once again we pull away, and that can cause anxiety. That can cause fear if we've not allowed ourselves to feel sadness, especially if there's a deep well of sadness, which I think with this 5,000 years of separation, humanity is carrying a deep well of sadness. Look at, whether or not you believe in past lives, which I happen to. I've had some powerful experiences looking at my past lives. And I also am open to the possibility that it wasn't actually a past life, that in my DNA, I carry the memory and the experiences of all my ancestors, which, if you think about it, we all do. DNA, they've proven it's an energetic pattern that moves from generation to generation. So we carry the fears and the unresolved issues of our parents, and I think we all feel that. We all feel certain things that we got from our parents, beyond just the physical stuff. And so if we can understand that part of our process here, as we're moving out of that cosmic fog bank, as we're moving into this new age, is to let go of the old stories. And one way of letting go of them is to own them without judgment. How many of us have certain things in our life that we wish would go away, we wish had never happened, and we think if they'd never happened, we'd be so much better off. So that brings me to my story about the cross-eyed bear. It's a story about the little boy who went to Sunday school for the first time, and he came home, and his parents said, well, how did you like Sunday school? He said, oh, it was okay, but I kept waiting for the cross-eyed bear. I wanted to see the cross-eyed bear. And his mother wasn't quite sure what he was talking about. And his father said, oh, you mean the cross-eyed bear. The cross-eyed bear. And so they tried to explain to him, what's the cross-eyed bear? And the father was saying, well, it's basically about Jesus, having to carry that heavy cross, but what it really means is the things that we hold on to, the thing that, the burdens that we carry. And the little boy, being a little boy, didn't get it. And the father said, well, as you get older, you will learn. And there was a sadness in the father when he said that, because he realized part of life as his child grew up was that he was going to take on a burden, and that it was part of humanity. And so what I want to invite everyone to open to is that the cross we bear, those things in us that we wish would go away, we wish didn't happen, we feel is our burden, those things are our gift. That's our soul saying, this is yours to do. This is yours to do, and as you do it without judgment, as you take it on and feel it in the solar plexus, rather than try to figure it out and understand from the solar plexus and from the heart center that we're all connected, there is no separation, this is where the healing is going to come from. Byron Katie says, one of my favorites, life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. Everything happens at exactly the right moment, neither too soon nor too late. You don't have to like it. It's just easier if you do. So if we can come to that with an understanding that even if it doesn't feel good, that maybe the reason it doesn't feel good is because some mental story that's blocking the feeling, if we can begin to trust this solar plexus, that it is our connection with that soul energy out in the sky, and that the sun is now out of that cosmic fog bank. What's interesting about that cosmic fog bank, when I look at it, and I look at humanity as one person, and I love doing this. I go to the microcosm and the macrocosm, and I see the great big picture, and then I say, how does it relate to me? Which is one of the things I love about unity, because that's really what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore did. They said, how does Jesus' experience and the experience of the Bible, how does it relate to me as an individual person right here, right now in my life? And so when I look at that 500-year period and what went on before, which I really don't know, we're just beginning to get a little bit of information. We've got myths and things from the Bible, and what I'm beginning to really open to is a lot of those myths that we have, not just from the Bible, but from the Mahabharata, the Indian myths, that they are probably much more true than false. A lot of Atlantis, all those things they're beginning to find. I saw a special the other day, they think they've actually found Atlantis, that it did exist. So we've had other experiences, and my feeling that this 5,000-year period was kind of our adolescence. We all were with our parents when we're younger, we feel that connection, we feel the love, and then just like that father was saying to his son, don't worry, as you get older, you'll take on your cross, it's going to happen. That's our adolescence. We separate from our parents, we go through that anxiety, we go through all that stuff, and then we grow, we get older, and I think that's what's happening. We needed that separation. We needed to feel that separation because as much as there's been so much war and destruction and killing, we've gotten through it, right? We're still here, and even though it's easy to focus on all the things that are wrong, there are so many things that are right. Just look at this country alone, we don't enslave people. We treat animals much more kindly. There's much more awareness of each other. Women have gained, maybe not completely, but they've stood up and said, we want these rights. What I'm waiting for to happen is the next step for the women to say, not only have we gained our rights, but look at all the things we already had and really invite the men to join them, which is happening too. I mean, men, when I watch 50s or some of the old TV shows, you see how there's a consciousness has changed. We've come together the way we treat gay people now. Much more acceptance, much more visibility. So we are moving forward. And now that we're moving to that new age, and we've got these real things that we can look at, like the sun moving out of that cosmic fog bank, the ancient civilizations that we're finding, what it says in the Mayan calendar. And when the experts about the Mayan calendar, they really aren't saying the world's going to come to an end. They're saying the world as we know it will come to an end. And so that's where we are. There's so much energy flowing through us. And what I really want to leave you with is the trusting of these chakras. I had planned to go through all the chakras with you, and I think I can do that a little bit, just to have you get a sense of them, because I realized in yoga and in my yoga teaching, just simply giving the ego mind something to do. Because the ego mind, I think, has always been a part of us. It just wasn't supposed to be in charge. The ego mind is really the interpreter. It helps to balance all these different energies that are flowing through us. And these chakras, there's 7 main ones. The root or base chakra, which is located base of the spine or between your legs. It's your connection with Mother Earth. When I did my past life regression, one of the first lives that came up for me was I was a Native American woman. I was a medicine woman in this Native American tribe. And she used to stand on the earth, breathe that earth energy up into her body, and she'd say, oh, 2 days in that direction we will find buffalo, because she could feel them. And so that was why she was so prized in the community, because she had that connection with Mother Earth. I think we all have that ability to tune in and feel the energy. Our next chakra is our sacral center. It's where we feel our sexuality. It's where we feel our creativity. Thus, we're able to create new life through this center. Third chakra is that solar plexus, where we carry not only our emotions, but our willpower. Our willpower is what will we do? What will we use this energy to do? What will we create? So as we clear out that emotional center, which I think where so much of the blocks has been, because we're afraid to feel it, our ability to create and manifest what we want is going to become so much stronger, because number one, as that ego mind is burned out and lets go of control, we're going to see that we are all one. That feeling of separation is going to begin to disappear, and we're going to begin to see that we all really want the same things. That there's no reason to fight with each other anymore. That the only way we can really create what we want is by coming together. Next chakra is the heart chakra, where the solar plexus energy moves into the heart and balances with our communication center, so we can really begin to speak from the heart. An awful lot we've been speaking from that ego mind, from the desire to control, to manipulate, to keep ourselves safe. As we trust these energy centers, we're going to be able to communicate from a much more truthful place. Next one is our third eye, which is the ability to vision into the future. Because it's been being run by our fearful ego mind, we've been projecting fear out into the future. So much of what we're projecting is fear. That's why our lives seems that it works for a while, then it doesn't work, because we've got these mixed messages going up because of old emotional energy we haven't been willing to feel. Last chakra is our crown chakra, which is always open and is always drawing in divine intelligence. So these different energy centers, from my point of view, they're also sense organs. It's how we feel the world. And so if we're living up in our ego mind, which if it's disconnected from all these energy centers, it's really living based on what went wrong from the past and what we're trying to fix and what we're sort of projecting into the future, what we don't want to happen. When we move into our body, we feel that right here, right now, we're safe. All our needs are being met. We have everything we need, and we can begin to listen to the energy that's flowing through and be guided by that energy. So I'd like to end with one more quote from Byron Katie. "The miracle of love comes to you in the presence of the uninterrupted moment. If you are mentally somewhere else, you miss real life." And that's where the ego mind has been living, mentally somewhere else. So this miracle of three breaths, which I gave you, is a wonderful technique to really train the ego mind to stay connected with earth, the body, and spirit. And just like anything, it takes practice. So as you practice doing it, that muscle gets stronger, and the ego mind begins to find its home again in the body. So let's do the miracle in 3 breaths one more time so you have it in your mind and body, and I can leave that with you as my gift today. So just rearrange, get comfortable in your chair, feel your sits bones on the bench, let go of all the breath, and take a nice deep, let's do it with our eyes open. That's another thing that this technique is for me so powerful. When you do it with your eyes open, the ego mind is present. Because all of us probably are able to close our eyes and meditate and go to that deep place within, but then you got to open your eyes and go out into the world. And as soon as you do that, ego mind jumps in and takes charge. Doing the miracle in 3 breaths with your eyes open will really allow the ego mind to start to say, oh, hey, I can still be here. Listen to that higher mind. Listen to my connection with earth. And when it does, you very quickly go into alpha waves in the brain, the heart rate lowers, blood pressure lowers, in just the time it takes to take 3 breaths. So feel yourself sitting where you are, let all the breath flow out. The first breath, you're just really inviting in Mother Earth. Eyes open, so people automatically want to close their eyes. And as you exhale, just noticing how you feel, being in your body. Next breath flows in through the crown of your head, feeling that divine intelligence fill your body. And as you exhale, let go of everything you don't need. Just consciously release it. Third breath comes from that kingdom of heaven within, the center of your heart. And then a soft humming sound, as soft as you can make. Just notice the quality of your experience, how it changes that quickly. And that humming sound, if you're standing in line in the bank or something, you don't feel comfortable humming, you can just do a silent hum. But the truth is, most places there's enough ambient noise that if you practice, I sit in line at the bank, oh, it's my favorite time at the bank, because money can give me anxiety sometimes. Just a soft hum. And that sound, that vibration, because you have to focus on it, and your intention is to be calm, that very powerful, affects every cell in your body. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. I really felt your attention, and bless you. Have a wonderful week.